Voila! So in this episode of the Mundane Craft, I want to talk to you about weddings. This is summer is here already, and weddings have been all over the place. It's one of the most fun, festive things and process in someone's life, and so brings so much joy. It's probably one of the unique events where people remember that for years and years and years. No matter the ups and downs in between, weddings are always so much fun. And I wanted to share with you a few things about how it is like to be married to get married in the as a Bamileke in my own tradition, and what we do, what we expect, things like that. So to start, we'll start with the search for the bride or the groom, the engagement, and then the wedding. So in our tradition, I'll talk about the past, and then I'll talk how it is now becoming in the modern days. So in our tradition, when a guy was at age to be married, or when his parents thought that he should be married, either because he was too much all over the place, or because he was simply at a point where he was financially reaching some financial stability, and they thought that he would, or maturity, and they thought that it was time for him to settle down. So what they usually do is that instead of having him go out there and start dating and looking for girls all over, no, the parents would actually do that, take that process on. They will be the one to say, okay, we're going to go out and seek a few candidates for you, and then you'll decide which one you like best, or which one you accept. And the reason for that was that, we didn't rely on, however you will feel about somebody, and you say, you love this person today, tomorrow you don't love them anymore, and things like that. Or you meet this person that you don't even know, you want to get married, you don't go to Las Vegas and get married in 5 minutes. Like, we don't have that in our culture. It's just not possible. It's just not, part of the culture. Of course it's possible, people can still go there and do that, but it will be considered something that's out of the culture, extremely out of the culture. Because the wedding is supposed to be bringing the families together, bringing the community together, and it is a all-around celebration with all the entire community. So the reason why the parents would go out and do that is because they are in a better position to assess, the family structure of this person that they're gonna go get. Sometimes they do have already friends that may have daughters. If it's a man that may have daughters, or sons if they have a daughter, who may be in the age ballpark of their own child, and so they can assess and saying, okay, this is a family we know, this is a family maybe we do business with, but this is a family that is very honorable, that behave and that has a great reputation in the village, in the city, or whatever where they are. So they will be much more inclined to choose someone like that, knowing that they have some ties with the family, knowing that if there is some type of argument or anything like that, those are people that they already know. Those are people who seem to be upstanding, or who seem to have a certain specific way of looking at things that are conducive and really aligned with their own way. Because the marriage is really the coming together of two families and two communities. So that's why it is important that this assessment is being done at the upper level as well, with the elders. So they will go around and look at, among their friends, whose friends has a daughter or, a son, depending on their child. And to try to figure it out, can we actually bring this person to our child, to marry our child. And so they will assess. Of course, they will also ask about, the festivity of the person, the behavior of the person, the reputation of that person, as well as the reputation of the family and all that stuff. And then once they do that, then they go back to their son and they say, okay, we find these two people, or three or four, or however. And then the son may have the opportunity to choose. He may have the opportunity to go and see who they're talking about. He may have the opportunity to say whatever he wants to say about it. Or the daughter, she may have the opportunity as well to say what she thinks about it. Ultimately, it's going to be a coming of the mind of the parents, as well as with the input of the daughter or the groom or the son, to make the decision. And of course, you can see that the fewer pretendant the parents go get, the fewer choices the person is going to have. So if they only find one person, so that's what going to be the person is going to be the to be proposed to her, and that would be, you know, or to him, and that will be the choice that he will have. He can still refuse, but as he refuses, as they present more and more people and you refuse, you start to be seen as someone who's difficult, someone who's making things harder, blah 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 blah. So it's not that much of a route to go. After they actually both of them accept, then the elders, the parents of the boy, the parents of the bride, and the parents of the groom will get together, and usually they will eat what we call cola nuts, and they will give each other a dijim, and they will drink alcohol, and usually it's palm wine, if I'm not mistaken, like the vin de palm wine, and drink that together to kind of seal the deal, kind of show that they are in agreement. And then they will organize the meeting of the bride and the groom for the engagement party, and to start the engagement process. And this is also when the dowry has to be paid, established and paid, or you know, it's usually established a bit before, but it has to be paid on the engagement day. And the dowry is not a payment to buy the bride. No, the dowry actually, in our tradition, it consists of a suitcase and some money, some other stuff. But I'm just gonna discuss some of the basic things because there's too many things in there to discuss. So the main thing is that you may be asked to give a certain amount of money. You may be asked to provide certain things that are from nature as well. But the main thing for the bride is that the groom has to bring a suitcase, and in the suitcase there has to be clothing for the bride, at least a year worth of clothing. There could be shoes in there as well. There should be a blanket as well. There should be some African print fabrics. And some envelope with money in it. And basically, because the African print fabrics are going to extended family members like uncles, cousins, stuff like that. And usually the envelope that comes with it is for those people to use that money in order to make clothes with that African fabric. A lot of people actually will make the clothes and will wear that outfit to the people's wedding. So it's also a way to guarantee that people will be at your wedding, and especially if you have like a theme wedding with a particular fabric, then you will be able to tell who's the party of the groom, party of the bride, based on the African print that everybody was going to be wearing. So that's part of that. The other reason why there is a lot of clothes in the suitcase is because for the next year or so after the engagement has taken place, the bride is going to be the fiance is going to be wearing those new clothes, and this is much more for an indicator to the community for them to know that now she's no longer single, now she's getting married. So they're going to first of all notice that she has new clothes, and from that conversation will come out that she can actually confirm to everyone that she's off the market, that she's engaged, and that's usually a year-long process to give the time to the groom to get together all the rest of the dowry, whatever was agreed upon. And it's usually the things that the bride is going to be using, that she will take with her into the marriage, or that she will give to her parents to take care of her parents and stuff like that. And it varies based on, you know, however wealthy the two families are or not. It varies on a whole bunch of different things. And there's also, you know, more of a mundane traditional stuff like some coconut oil, palm oil, those kind of things that are being given as a gesture, and each of them symbolize things that we're not going to go over in this video, but it's just to say that it's such a process between the different families coming together, and at the engagement sealing that bond with saying that the guy is actually vouching to take care of her, and his first gesture to show that he was going to take care of her is to bring that suitcase, is to say, you know, you won't have to worry about, you know, having clothes on your back and having a shelter, because that's what he's going to provide for her. So that you have that year long. Usually during that year long, however, we don't have the same thing as, you know, Christianity or all other religion or Western world, where people are pretending to wait or are told to wait to be married in order to start being sexually intimate. A lot of those couples will start being intimate during the year of their of them being engaged. For many reasons, not only just because they want to and they're inclined to and they engage, and sometimes while they engage, sometimes they're already living together as well, because for a lot of people, traditionally the marriage starts at the engagement moment. Once you seal and you give the dowry, it's pretty much held that your guys are married already. So that's why it's not seen as something like, taboo or frowned upon or anything like that, because it's already considered that, you pay the dowry, she's wearing your clothes, she's your wife, you're living together already. There's not going to be any shaming. In addition, sometimes when you get engaged, people get jealous. There's all kind of rumors that come out to try to pull you apart, especially if there was someone else who was wanting the groom or someone else who wanted the bride. That can cause a lot of different stories here and there. And so starting to be intimate, usually some of the couples will actually already know that they were pregnant a few months before the wedding. And that was gone away when people start signing rumors about, the woman being infertile or the man being infertile. The couple who's already pregnant knows that this is just, some whatever gossip story. And usually when they do know that they're pregnant, their close family, like their parents on both sides, actually also know. So it's like you'll get married before it shows, but at the same time, they know that the baby is going to be born, within the first year. And that's also to say that, the purpose of getting married in African tradition is to have children. Otherwise, you can keep having relationships and stuff. And there's countless stories of people who had relationships without having any children together or without getting married. So I don't take the view that African spirituality is a spirituality or a tradition where people are being forced that you have to get married. I've had stories of people who didn't get married, people who ran away, lived by themselves, and never got married. Of course, it comes with certain consequences to that, but it is not something that's impossible to do, and I don't think it's something that's like that much frowned upon or shamed upon, from my perspective at least. Okay, so now that they are engaged, now they make it to the wedding. So usually the wedding is a big party, but it's not just for the two families. Most of the time in Africa, when you have people getting married, you invite your neighbors, you invite even random people who are passing by on the streets. They usually come in and and just share in the joy, share in the event. And sometimes there's also activities in the village. People are giving away a lot of things. They're being generous, celebrating the newlywed. And even people from the community come and bless the couple and wish them well for their wedding and their marriage. So it's a very festive communal event and process. The only thing that I will say that, as opposed to modern times, so we all know that despite all of this great process about assessing, the child, the family of the child, all these different things to be able to bond give your daughter to somebody who's respectable, and vice versa, we know that there are some failed marriages. We know that even though people may stay for 30, 40, 50 years together and stuff like that, they may go through hell during that marriage. They may, just stay in there for the sake of it, because in our culture, marriage is not really divorce is really not seen as something that's good. So some people would rather die rather than get divorced from that point of view. So it's not because you go through that process that necessarily your marriage is going to be a full-on success. And we do see now with the new generation that there are much more issues of youth getting married and having stable relationship, having stable marriages, because we no longer are willing to take on the type of pain that we've seen our parents go through. We want more than that, and I think it's a great thing that now the African Renaissance is going on. And for me, the African Renaissance is really looking into what our elders have provided as a tradition, and then seeking how we can better contribute to it so that it really serves us, so there's less hurt and less pain, and we can actually reap all of the advantage of the tradition. So in that note, we see that the parents, also the elders, have taken a step back. They're no longer going out and finding you, you know, if you were a woman, your parents are no longer going to come and say, okay, we have this, our friend has a son, is interested in marrying you, without even seeing you ever. It's not happening anymore as it used to do. The elders seem to have taken a step back, maybe because they were too wrapped up in their own drama. But we've seen that there's been a decline of parents doing that, parents going out and actually making that kind of effort and saying, we're going to be looking around, we know that you're reaching the age, we're going to look around if we can find somebody that may be compatible with you, that we know and whose family we also know. At the same time, so we have now parents kind of saying, like, now it's, you have to get out there and find somebody. And I think before it was like, okay, you go to college, don't talk to the boys, focus on your degrees, and then when you're out of college or finishing college, they're like, well, better look around to get someone to get married. So there's this major shift. You didn't used to go thousands of miles away or different countries to go to study. So you usually lived in the same village your entire life. So you kind of like, even if your parents didn't push you, you'll be able to find somebody there because you lived in that town for your entire life. But when you're moving all the time, it just makes things a lot more harder. Even when you're going abroad to study and you meeting somebody, now your parents, in order for your parents to meet them, somebody has to travel across the ocean and back and forth. So it's just a little bit harder than it used to be. It doesn't mean that it's not happening anymore. There's plenty of people that go to college, meet their mate and get married, or bring their mate back and get married. So it's still happening. And I think now it's tweaking. I think now more elders are, after viewing that sometimes there are some match that are being made that are not really that good. Now some of the elders are going back to seeking out that mate for their daughter or their son, but they're not doing it as much overtly that they used to do. So it's no longer like, okay, we think you need to get married, we're going to bring in 3 people or 4 people, whatever, and you're going to have to choose. No, now it's much more like, oh, we're having this dinner with such and such, and their daughter's going to be there, and then when the daughter gets there, the parents just skip away to do something else, to go someplace else, and leave the two of them together. So it's done in a more subtle way, but it's still there, and I think we still do need that. We need to have to incorporate both of the elders as well as the individual in that process, but it needs to be a lot brought back, a lot more closer to what it used to be, but with getting it better than it used to be actually. So we just need to improve that process to make sure that, yes, we try to cover as many bases as we can, but that it is a process that has to be enjoyable for the people involved as well as the parents and elders in the community. So that was for a little bit snapshot about weddings and Bamileke tradition. Of course, there are so many other things that I left out because I'm trying to keep this video under 20 minutes. But of course, if you have questions, don't hesitate. Bye bye.